All right, grown-ups, it's just our time. I love the babies, but to help you, I gotta speak my mind. This segment's here to help you grow with book reviews, lessons, and things you'll be glad to know. If your little one's restless or looking to play, send them to my other playlist. The read-alouds there will brighten their day.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Teacher Lady Speaks. I'm Erica M. Burrell, the Teacher Lady and your fairy godparent when it comes to sharing joyful stories and growing young minds. So my goal with this playlist is to use my experience teaching tiny humans to help enhance your experience teaching or raising tiny humans through resources, insight, and honest reflections from a well-seasoned educator who understands just how hard love work can be. Ooh, I get it. Okay. We are wrapping up our topic about planet Earth and environmental justice. This is the final episode in this week's theme. We kick things off with Are You Going to Recycle That? That book gave us practical ways to go about bettering our environment. And then we went into The Tantrum That Changed the World, a bold story about climate activism and one girl's ability to get the whole world going. Now we're wrapping it all up with this episode of the Teacher Lady Speaks, a crash course in how to get your child more invested in the care of planet Earth and involved in environmental justice. You ready? Let's grow. I'm trying to get you to understand planet Earth and you're young. Here's how I will go about it. I would talk about the issues in our home and how it relates to the issues that we're having in our environment. So in our home, we throw away trash because if we left trash all over the house, it would be polluted. There will be stuff everywhere. It will be hard to breathe. And the same thing is happening with planet Earth. There is too much trash. And that buildup of trash is causing a major problem with our planet. Same thing you can do with climate change. So in our home, if we turned up the heat super, super hot and we closed all the windows and it had nowhere to move, what would happen? Right? It would make it hard for us to breathe. It would make it hard for our pets to breathe. And so there is a connection there as well. The best way to get children to understand anything is to find something that they can relate it to and then put it in that way for whatever the topic is. So here, the focus is planet Earth and environmental justice, but you might not understand that yet because you're a child and you're learning, but you do understand what is needed in terms of the confines of taking care of your house. Deforestation would be similar to if we were to take all the curtains down and rip up all the carpets. That's what's happening when we go into the forest and we start chopping down their trees of the animals and we start shutting down the things that they need in order to live. Okay. It's like going into your house and just tearing it up. And of course, with water in our home, we expect to be able to turn on the faucet and have water that's healthy enough to be able to use to wash our face or to clean our home. Some people don't have any access to water. Some people don't have access to clean water. And overall, the message of environmental justice, we had a house and then your brother's half of the house was nice and clean and usable, but your half of the house was filled with smoke and carbon dioxide and all of these other elements that were making you super sick. It would be unfair. The environment is not just for all the people who are living in it. That is how I would explain environmental justice to a child. On our planet Earth, certain people live in areas where there aren't as many factories, there isn't as much pollution, the water is cleaner, while other people suffer. That is a justice issue. Understand? And that's how I will go about it when I'm talking to children. What is my child learning in school in regards to this topic? So, as always, I use two states as an example. I use the state of California and our curriculum, as well as the state of Texas and their curriculum, to give you a better idea of where your child might be landing in terms of learning about the topic. So, according to our state curriculum's website, in California, climate change and environmental justice are mandated to be integrated. AB 285, which just started in 2024, requires schools to apply environmental principles and concepts across subjects. So this is state approved. Your child will learn something. Now, as always, I caution that because how your child learns is important to if they actually learn it. What educator they have is a crucial piece of if they actually learn it. And are they going to feel like it is relative to them? You will not see change with children. You won't see change with their behavior, with their ideologies, with the things that they're passionate about, if it cannot be related and connected back to them. So yes, they should get some exposure if they are in public school in California, but to what degree or how much heavily depends on whoever is leading that class, that school district, and that school. In the state of Texas, there is no mandated curriculum in regards to environmental justice, climate change, saving our planet, the environment, or anything in between. Legislation such as House Bill 3979 restricts the discussion of certain social and political topics. Okay, so not only is there no mandated curriculum, you could have a problem by talking about the issue if it's considered a social issue or a political issue. Now, what does that mean is kind of subjective, but there is nothing mandated. Start by having the conversation at home, because by now you probably understand, if you've been listening to me, that anything that is important for you to have your child know, you will have to take initiative on. Same thing for educators. Anything that you think is valuable insight for your students to have, you will have to take lead in terms of adding it as part of the curriculum. Now, this section only gets added to videos as needed, but I do think it's relevant here. When you're talking to your child about planet Earth and the environment, and there is this energy to demand change, you see it in Are You Going to Recycle That? When he's like, hey, we have to do better. We have to recycle, turn off the water. And there's kind of all of these demands. I need you to be mindful, and I need you to teach your child to be mindful that not everybody has the same exact access to resources. And so there should be a level of compassion that's put in when you do have a friend and they're not recycling, when they've never heard of recycling or composting. A lot of apartments don't have the same abilities as houses. So if you live in a house, your child has friends that live in apartments, their experience with how to take care of planet Earth is going to be different. Having the conversation and letting them know that even taking care of the environment is a level of privilege. I'm from San Francisco, California. San Francisco is extremely green conscious. Being from that city and being from Potrero Hill projects, I did not learn about how to take care of the environment until I was older and had went off to college. Why? Because the access to information heavily varies depending on where you're from. Even neighborhoods have different levels of trash cans. So imagine you're walking around and you have trash in your hand and there's no trash cans to throw it. How long are you going to carry it before it hits the floor? It's not an excuse, but what it is a way to show your child you have the ability to make change, and so make it. And maybe somebody else does not have that same ability. So we're going to focus on ourselves and how we can best improve our community and planet Earth with the resources that we have available, because we have the privileges to be able to do so. You don't want judgy kids. You're going to have to consistently bring in cultural context, financial disadvantages, socioeconomic issues, and reasons as to why not all children have the same exact experience. And here are a few best practices, that being one of them. One of the best practices is to make sure that your child is culturally sensitive and aware. Another best practice is to make taking care of the environment part of your home's culture. So have a recycling bin available if that's something you have access to. Make sure that you give a good job, a thumbs up to a child who has remembered to turn the water off when they're brushing their teeth. Be mindful of how much food is wasted. Maybe you need to grocery shop less. Maybe you need to make smaller meals. All of these things as a way to not be nitpicky and invasive or overwhelming, but to just say oh, I noticed 2 days this week, we've had a lot of extra food. Maybe when we go grocery shopping, we should be more mindful so we're not wasting that, because we understand that it takes a lot of water and resources to get our food to the grocery store. And if you did not understand that, there's a book on that too. I Don't Eat That, which talks all about how we get food and what food is and where it comes from. But having the conversation about the things you notice within your home that could be different or improved, or even the things that you think you all are doing really well, helps to normalize such a big topic, and to have that conversation early and make it just part of your home and your belief system. When to seek help. If your child is, and this happens sometimes, if they are becoming way too overwhelmed with all the issues of the environment and it's affecting their sleep patterns and they won't stop talking about it and it's becoming obsessive, at that point, you might want to call in a guidance counselor, call in somebody to help them. Some children that are very drastic, where you as the parent or the educator are only trying to get them to understand, right, the importance of taking better care of planet Earth, and now they've gone overboard. That's for any topic, though. Anytime you have a child that is freaking out and they're panicking, whether it's about the environment, whether it's about COVID, where the issue might be, always look at them. And if you get to a point to where you cannot support them through that issue, that anxiousness and that anxiety, you call in a resource. You call in that guidance counselor, you phone that friend, that aunt, and you get them to calm down and focus on the things that they can change, not the things that are out of their control. Common questions that I get around the topic: what is too early to start talking about some of these things. There is no age that's too early. If your baby can talk, then they can start to understand the world around them. It doesn't mean that you go full-blown professor mode to your 2-year-old. That's in no way what I'm saying. But again, the more you make things in your home part of the standard behavior and practice of belief, the more it will be automatic for your child. The second common question I get is, well, what happens if my child just don't care? They don't care about nothing. They don't care about the environment. They don't want to go to school. They don't want to be invested in anything. Baby, just keep trying. Keep trying and compliment them and acknowledge them when the effort is made. Kids go through these phases where nothing affect them. They seem completely oblivious in their own world. They're not paying attention to anything. It's a phase. And through that phase, continue to remind them of the things that they are doing well, the things that you appreciate, the things that you've seen change in, because it helps to inspire them to keep going down that path. And lastly, how do you go about talking about hard things like extinction, pollution? I actually just had this situation happen. My daughter was doing an animal project for her class, and she was talking about slow lorises. And so we're doing all of this research on slow lorises, and we come across this website that is really advocating for people not to have slow lorises as pets because they're in the process of going extinct. I believe the best approach with any difficult subject is to be very honest about what's happening. Okay, because the honesty element will help for your child to start to wrap their mind around the real world that they experience, not the colorful one we try to paint for them. Both are important. My child's love for animals and my understanding that can be a very compassionate person and that I don't want to scare her is important, but I also need her to understand why we're not taking a slow loris home. I need her to understand why pets deserve to be in their natural habitat and what happens if we keep disrupting that for personal need or for personal greed in a lot of ways, because nobody has to have that specific pet in their home, and the importance of leaving things alone. And so have the uncomfortable conversations, make them aware of how life works. Be honest, be compassionate, but allow them the space to receive the information needed in order to be part of our community and our environment. And my final thoughts are that the goal is to not scare your child. The goal is to get them involved because they are the next generations. And ultimately, it will be up to them to take care of our planet. More that we can create ways to involve them if we do a community cleanup day, if we do an ocean beach walk, focusing on making sure that our oceans are cleaner. If you do decide to write a letter or draw a picture and have them send it in, find ways to get them involved because it's going to end up being on them. One of my biggest frustrations with politicians is that you make all of these rules and then you're not here to be able to see the result of the rules that you make. The same thing in education. You have a lot of people who are at district level who are not in the classroom making a lot of decisions for the classroom. And so this is a way to say, hey, you're up next. If you and your friends your age don't start doing a better job caring for our environment, it's going to be a problem for you because eventually I'm not going to be here. Okay. So really driving home the responsibility of like, hey, I'm educating you on this because I want you to know that ultimately the world you want to live in depends on how you treat it. There are so many resources you can utilize as tools to help get your child involved in environmental justice and to get them to learn more about planet Earth. Of course, we talked about 2 resources already. One is the Tantrum That Saved the World, which goes all into pollution, climate change. It has a glossary, carbon dioxide, and so much more. It's more robust. And so this is something that I would use not necessarily as an introductory tool, but definitely once your child has an idea, they can run with it utilizing this book. Then you have Are You Going to Recycle That? A children's book about the environment that has the basics of what is happening with our planet and how you can take practical steps in order to make a change. Okay, so both of these resources are valuable. I recommend them both, as well as a few websites. Let's get into the websites. So there's Earth School by UNEP and TED Ed. This is a series of 30 interactive lessons, and it explores topics like ecosystems and sustainability, and it's designed for children 5 to 18 years old. There is the WWF's Our Planet Classroom resources, which provides materials to inspire young people to explore Earth's major issues, which I really appreciate. They are based out of the UK, but that information at this point is universal. It's worldwide. The inspiration piece is really good because if you can get your child inspired and invested, then that is half the battle, okay? There's PBS Kids. PBS Kids has resources specifically on protecting the planet, and some interactive activities as well that help get children involved in taking better care of Mother Earth. Now, in terms of environmental justice resources, you can take a look at EcoRise, which is an introduction to environmental justice. It has a curriculum that introduces elementary age children to environmental concepts, emphasizing community impact and advocacy. So if your child is at a point to where they want to do something, this is a good resource. Out of all of these different parts of the list, one of my favorites that I use consistently is Youth en Route. And the reason why I like Youth en Route so much is because it is curriculum developed by children. And so if you think of a child, teaching a child, that is their entire approach. And it works really well because if you want a child to understand something, utilizing a child to explain it is a perfect way to be able to do so. There's so many different resources to help to have this as part of your home-based curriculum, as well as even in school, and to include it in your classroom so that children better understand that we need to do better as a community of people, taking care of our planet, having green spaces, and making sure that everybody is healthier and ultimately happier. Thank you so much for learning with me this week. I really appreciate this little community we're growing. It makes me really happy. I hope you love the Read Aloud we had this week, as well as both behind the book reviews. Be sure to sign up for my newsletter where I will be sending out all of this information and then some, because my goal is to keep you sane and keep them educated, okay? Lastly, as a lifelong reading specialist, I've created a book donation program called the Empathy Library. It is the most straightforward initiative you can think of. You go on the website, you donate what you can, that money gets put towards the purchase of books. Those books then go directly to the children who need them. On the flip side of that, if you are not in a position to be able to donate books, but you need them, go fill out the application. Don't forget, we cover new topics every week with picture books that help us to be able to do so. Y'all know I love a good book, okay? Thank you for watching, for learning with me, for being part of this growing community. Until next time, remember to enjoy the moment or go be a joy in the moment. Bye.